Barnaby Jones will return next Thursday night at 10, 9 Central and Mountain on most of these stations.
Word Balloon is brought to you by the League of Word Balloon Listeners.
With Doctor Strange, I could really just embrace the earliest version of that character, which frankly looked like he was half English, half Asian in the way he was drawn in his first appearance. His eyes had a different kind of shape, and his whole aesthetic was really beaming the sense of Asian culture coming forward. But he also looked like a definitely much older guy, so I didn't hold back with that in the illustration. I'm somebody who likes to embrace age as a definitive characteristic that you can really get into much deeper character with somebody when you show more form and grit in the face. It's more shadow. It's more lines for the artist to hook into.
Welcome, everybody. Time again for another Trek Watch. We're going to review the entire second season of Strange New Worlds. Plus, Franco and Wayne have not had an opportunity to talk about the final episode. Hell, Wayne hasn't had a chance to talk about the musical episode. John here, Franco here, Wayne here. Mitch is on assignment, but shuttling in from DS8, we have Scott Larson, good buddy of mine, Chicago comic creator, behind the supernatural comic Visitations, which is a great book, and maybe at the end of the show we'll let Scott tell the audience about that as well. But good to see everybody. I know Langley is already here watching as well. How you doing, Langley? And I've got also questions and comments from Patreon. You know, beyond the season review, there's a lot of Trek news that has happened, and Wayne was in Star Trek Vegas, so you know it's good chance to catch up beyond talking about episode 10 and everything. So you know, we can start with you know, the musical, and then Wayne, I know you love the musical, but tell us your thoughts on 9 and 10.
Well, like I said, I love the musical. I thought it was interesting. It was a nice story that they were telling. I thought the songs worked. It had the format of a musical, dealing with emotions and people having issues and trying to resolve those issues. It's almost like a West Side Story type.
It's like a musical.
Yeah, it's like a musical. It was just, again, it's just.
I don't know what. Yeah, what he said.
I don't know what to say other than it was cute. I like the songs. I think they're catchy. I know you didn't think they were catchy. I thought they were catchy, and it's something that you could. I've been listening to the soundtrack while I've been doing dishes or making supper. It's just something that's really bouncy and really fun to listen to.
The soundtrack was #1 in the States last week because Christina Chong told me that.
I especially love that this is a private conversation. The way it went, it was like a Gilbert and Sullivan type musical. It's great.
Respectfully, again, and I understand you've been listening to the soundtrack. I'm glad the soundtrack sold well. I don't think it's as catchy as I am the very, whatever modern major general. I mean, those songs, you don't even have to know them. You hear them once and immediately they're in your brain. I won't make you force you to sing, Wayne, but I'll take your word for it. Scott, you're the newbie. What did you think of the musical?
I thought it was fine. I mean, I'm not a big fan of musical things unless it, some things yes and some things no. And I'll leave it there. But I knew what this episode was going to be. And I was slightly worried about it. So I wasn't heavily involved in it. I was half watching it and I didn't find it offensive in any way whatsoever. John, you and I talked about the new Captain Kirk being in there, which I could have lived without, but I was fine with the episode in general. I didn't think it was offensive. It didn't hurt anybody, and it's done.
Let's hope so. Musical 2, Starfleet Rhapsody 2. Franco, your thoughts?
I liked it. I liked it quite a bit. I liked it more than I thought I was going to. I thought it was right up there with the Buffy musical episode. I know you hate it. I can't understand the hate. You've just been hating all season long, even the good episodes you've been hating.
No, true.
Yes, it's true.
No. We'll get into it.
But I know we will. But I enjoyed it quite a bit, and that's all I have to say about that.
Of course, Scott has been listening to me off the air, talking as much as I do on the air about Star Trek. I like I said, here a comment from Langley. Having time to think about it, I think they missed the most interesting emotional beat to sing about Pike knowing his future. I'll be in a chair. I can only beep yes and no. Say it again.
That'll be the sequel.
Yes, exactly. You know what's interesting? The Beat, Heidi McDonald's website, had a panel of 3 discussing the season as a whole, and they have a physically challenged person in the 3-person discussion. And that person said, Pike is too depressed about that future, and said, as a disabled person, you learn to live with it. It's not as bad as you think. And I would slightly disagree that it's not that Pike is only a quadriplegic. He is disformed. And further, as we know from the cage and the menagerie, he can't talk. He's trapped. He is trapped in his body completely, and only can, answer in binary, yes or no. And again, I maybe we'll see more of Pike in the chair whenever Strange New World wraps up, and they might modify that. But what we know right now, it is where I believe, and forgive me, this is John speaking. I will own my comments, and I don't want anyone else to be tainted by if someone is offended, and I don't mean any offense, but I do think it is worse than just being, for example, a quadriplegic. But that's my point of view.
Did he say that for the way he is in the series about being too depressed?
Well, clearly, I think, he's frightened by that fate. And I also think, obviously, by the actions of episode 10 of the first season, that, he's like, well, maybe I can change my destiny. And maybe I don't have to do this. It is in the future. Maybe it's not set. And, needed the convincing of future alternate Pike telling him, hey, I've tried this a million times. And the only other thing that happens is, I'll survive, but Spock will be in a worse vegetative state, and he's important for the future. And again, that part of that episode I liked. Really, guys. You weren't there when it was just me and Wayne discussing the whole of season 2, and I'll just say right now, before we really get into it, I gave it a C-. And I'll go into further, but I didn't give it an F. I didn't give it a D. I know C- isn't that positive, but I'll get into my thoughts. Let's move on to episode 10, because again, Wayne and Franco and Scott too. What were you guys thoughts on the finale?
I liked it quite a bit.
Okay.
I thought it was a real adventurous episode. I didn't like the way it ended on a cliffhanger, obviously, but and especially that we have to wait a couple of years now before we get anything else.
That's that's not their fault, and no,
and I know
you know that.
I'm just as a fan, I'm like, oh man, I gotta wait.
Yeah, what are you gonna do?
But I think I had some negative reviews in the beginning of the season, but I think the back end of the season really kind of took me along, especially when, and I've said this before, once I've made that transition to this is an alternate timeline. Because the Gorn doesn't make sense to me with the original series. A lot of things don't make sense to me with the original series. So I'm going at face value with what they're doing and thinking of this as an alternate timeline. I enjoyed the episode quite a bit.
Okay, Wayne?
I agree with what Franco said. It was an interesting season finale. The whole thing. It's nice that it's like episode 1 and 10 are basically the bookends to the Gorn story. It would have been probably nice to have maybe a little more subplot throughout the season dealing with what the Federation's having issues with the Gorn. But I agree with Franco. You have to look at this as an alternative timeline, a different dimension, because it doesn't line up with what we know about the series in the past, and especially what we know about what the species look like. Because what they did was they went back to rejig the Klingons back to what they kind of looked like before. So it's just go in, look at what they're trying to tell. Like for me, this season, if they were just trying to focus, if the main goal of this season was to focus on individual characters, I would give it a higher grade, because I'm not even sure what grade to give them, because I don't know what was their main focus this season. Because to me, it looked like it was more individual characterization. The problems that we saw with Discovery, where we had no idea who's who other than Burnham and Saru and a few others, where this season we got to see each and every character, and they sort of built on who these people are in different episodes. And if that was the goal of this season, was to focus strictly on let's talk about characterization of the individuals, I give it probably like a B or an A-, because what they're trying to do is, I want to introduce each of these characters to the audience. And that's what this season is. The overarching fun stuff that we'll get probably in season 3 is the Gorn War. But let's focus on each character in the different episodes. Let's build up who these people are so that the audience can attach themselves to them. And that's what I'm thinking. Like, if I look at the season as a whole, that's what they're trying to do. They weren't trying to tell, like in season 1 was more like a Star Trek season. Let's go to this world. Let's go to that world. Let's encounter a few new entities that we've not seen before. Where this season was more character driven.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but I think they still did that with the different, each individualized episode.
Mm-hmm. I just think it was more of a character driven season.
Well, I agree with
a story driven season.
But I also think Berman Trek was able to achieve both once they got past the first season's awkwardness of Next Generation. Because go back to DS9 or Voyager, and there are character-centric episodes that flesh out Dax and Kira and Odo and Quark and everybody. So, Scott, what do you think?
I thought it was the season finale was very 90s Trek. Very Burnham 90, not Burnham. I'm drawing a blank.
Berman. Yeah.
Confusing him with Michael Burnham. But it was very, very, very 90s, very DS9 like, I thought. And I just, I feel like with this show in particular, they're really like trying to mirror, trying to take some of that stuff that was done in the earlier series, like the character stuff, and amping up the drama without distracting you with a bunch of special effects like Discovery did. And I feel that that's what that season finale was, and what the show is. It's almost like getting back to what Trek needs to be.
I kind of think you're giving it more credit because, again, I think, I know everyone's laughing, and that's okay. To me, again, and it's my broken record complaint, is the stories are too simplistic. They're not very science fiction minded. I found it interesting that some people, and in fact, even in the chat, Brad says, I didn't notice in the musical much mansplaining. I saw people accusing Pike for mansplaining when he found Captain Batel, and is like, well, did you try? And she cuts him off and is like, Chris, I'm a captain. I know what I'm doing. And it's like, he's a captain too, and he loves you, and he's just trying to give you a suggestion. And again, it's not her fault. It's the words they put in her mouth. But it's like, does it always have to be this fight between men and women, and men are idiots. Scott, you want to talk? Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, you told me that before I saw the episode, and so I was waiting for it, and I didn't take her words the exact way you took it. She had a smile on her face when she said that.
I'm gonna have to relook and see.
Yeah, and it just seemed like banter between a couple, like Dax would have said that to, Ezri would have said that to Julian.
Okay.
Well, or Worf, right? And so I just think you're, with all
overly
due respect,
sensitive.
Say it again, Wayne. I'm
reading
sorry.
too much into it is what I was going to say. But
I was going to say, I said overly sensitive to it.
Overly.
Like,
Well,
it's almost like it's I don't know how to put it.
well, I'm sorry, but
are you trying to find something wrong?
no,
And if
I
there's just a little
respectfully,
thing, then you're just going to go off on it.
respectfully, on all of New Trek, there have been many instances where the women roll their eyes at the men. There was the earlier episode where all the I call them the IT guys, but the engineers were, while they were in space dock, were kind of fixing things on the Enterprise. And hey, this, hey, hey, whatever that. And Uhura's like, I know what I'm doing with my console. And literally, rolls her eyes and goes back to her station. The same with Ortegas. Langley agrees with you guys. He didn't see it as mansplaining either. But again, I will point to that Beat roundtable, and they're like, yeah, a lot of mansplaining going on. A lot of, they didn't like Pike coming to Batel's rescue. Oh, damsel in distress. And it's like, they're like
I don't see it that way. Yeah, I don't see it that way. It's like he's in mid communication with another captain, where his girlfriend, but then it gets cut off, and then they have everything else going on with the other ships, and the communication shut off. So that's when he's like, okay, there's something wrong here. I don't see it that way. One thing I am dying to ask you, and I'm dying to know from you specifically, Johnny, is Scotty showing up. How did you feel
we'll
about
get
that?
to that. Brad, by the way, before we get to Scotty, Pike was a test pilot, not to mention a seasoned Star Trek veteran. He shouldn't be sick in a shuttle maneuver. Yeah, that was another, like, and Erica's like, again, man, you're the best pilot, Eric, ever, Erica. And I don't mind that. I think that's great. But man, they just do that all the time. And it's like, as Ortegas herself said to Pike, it's like, well, you're a test pilot too. Like, what the hell? And at
Again,
least that's
I didn't see it that way. There was that comment from her about she did this in the war all the time. So
sure.
She was used to diving towards the ground, and then
probably like a fighter pilot move. Sure.
Probably as a test pilot, I don't know that he would have done that. And during the war, he would have been he would have been already in a command situation, so wouldn't have to deal with any of that.
Not all test pilots are the same. Like, remember the right stuff? Remember the right stuff?
Yeah.
Where they talk about
go on.
Where Chuck Yeager said spam in a can?
Right.
But some of them that went into the program, like what was it, Gus Gorman?
Gus Grissom, go on.
Gus Grissom?
Yeah.
Wouldn't have been on the same level as Chuck Yeager.
None of them were. Well, that was kind of
no. But I'm just saying,
at the level of Chuck Yeager.
I could see Erica being something like a Chuck Yeager, where she's brilliant at her job. Doesn't mean just because he was a test pilot, he could still get sick.
I disagree. I'm sorry. I'll accept your comment. I'm sorry. Test pilots are there to see what kind of pressure ships can take. We don't know full details of Pike's time as a test pilot. I will grant you that. I don't think he was just doing, boy, Aaron, here's deep cuts of Trek, like Riker and Geordi talking about, doing the Jupiter or whatever, and the milk runs between Jupiter and Earth, in the Jellicoe episode, the Jellicoe two-parter. And they taught, who's the best pilot, Geordi? Is it you? No, you want Riker. And that's fine. There's always a number one. And I understand that. But I do think, and I unfortunately think it's a bad read on the right stuff and the real history of the Mercury 7 if you don't think all of those guys were test pilots putting their asses on the line every time they got into a plane. But that's what I know about the history. So I would challenge your interpretation of that. That's mild. That's a mild disagreement, if you will. Well, hey man, we're here to discuss. Here, Langley says regarding this all, so far Ortegas' only characteristic or personality trait is flying the ship. She wasn't given anything more than that flying in the war. Right, I agree with that. Oh, very good, Langley. Langley remembers it was the Jovian run. Yes, one of the moons of Jupiter, I believe. So very cool. Mike says Chuck Yeager apparently was not comfortable as a passenger. As a test pilot, you would want to be in control. Absolutely. Yes, that was one of the big things. And Aristides, hey, a Greek guy, says the songs in the musical were absolutely terrible. I was really let down, hoping it would be fun. It was at best funnish. Yeah, I mean, again, I understand that they were characters things, and I'm the X. You want to sing a few bars of "I'm the X," Wayne? Can you do that? Are you able to do that? You've been listening to the soundtrack all the time. Can you sing that song?
Well, I'm not going to perform for you like a dog.
Bark! Gee. Damn it! Oh, gee. No, hey,
I'm going to jump through a hoop next?
No, I'm asking you to back up saying, I've been listening to it. I have
been listening to it.
Okay, well, then the music must be sticking to you in some way, right?
Hey, Scott, welcome to my world every week.
Kidding.
That's all right.
Oh, relax. Good Lord. Feel free to jump on me with, Johnny, all you see is mansplaining and anti-men stuff on Star Trek. I can handle it. Hey, what the hell? Big baby. Big Canadian baby. All right, let's get into Scotty, because that was interesting. Well, listen, I like the guy. I like the guy a lot. Two things I would say, though. A little young, maybe, especially compared to a alternate universe. I understand, but I always felt Scotty and McCoy were clearly older than Kirk and Spock, and this guy is really, really young and seems to look younger than Paul Wesley, for example, and our buddy, our buddy Spock. So I don't know. I liked him though. But the other thing, all right, guys, tell me about Scotty. What does everybody think of Scotty? Jump ball. Wayne, go ahead. I've been picking on you.
Yeah. I thought he was okay. Like it showed the characteristics that he's very intuitive. He thinks on his feet.
Yes.
Just exactly like Scotty. Like I can build anything out of anything, given enough time.
I agree with that.
I think he had all the beats of what you would expect from a person to play Scotty.
Absolutely agree. Absolutely. No, I like the guy a lot, and I hope, my concern is beyond the second part of this thing. I have a theory that going into season 3, and I hope I'm wrong, because I love Carol Kane, and I think when we get to talking about the season in general, vastly underused. I mean, this woman is an incredible actor, and has so much more than the 2 minutes of comic relief they seem to give her in every episode that she's in. She's not in every episode. But I really hope to see more of her and Scotty working together. But my fear is that after part 2, or at the end of part 2, it's going to be Carol Kane going, something, this is why I didn't like doing deep space missions and why I like teaching at the academy better. I'm going back to Starfleet. Hey, Scotty, why don't you take over? And that's fine. But, I'll get into more of other thoughts. Guys, go ahead. Franco, go ahead. What do you think of Scotty?
I think that unlike Discovery, they should have more episodes per season for this. That's the number one thing. I didn't mind Scotty here. I actually liked him. The one thing I kept thinking about was when we heard that Scottish voice in the last season, was it, right?
Right.
And then that kind of threw me off a little bit. I'm like, oh, wait, okay. They kind of hinted that he's here. And then what was he just happened to be there, or what was that? Like, that kind of threw me off when he showed up here. I had no idea he was going to show up. If I ignore that piece, I liked him in this. I liked the storyline behind him and how he got there. And I like Scotty being Scotty when Scotty's there. So, and he was definitely Scotty. So I didn't have an issue with it at all.
What do you think, Scott?
I thought he was fine. The only part I'm not super thrilled with on this is the fact that I feel they're bringing him in a little early, especially if they do. I saw an article where one of the showrunners wants to have 20 episodes per season, and he wants the show to go for 10 years. And if that's the case, and you're bringing these guys in super early, Although considering that Paramount Plus might collapse within the next couple of years, that it better to get him in there now than wait.
Yeah.
Um,
I was going to say, I was going to interrupt you. That's maybe what he wants is all those episodes over a span of 10 years. They're not getting that.
right.
Yeah.
No.
Well, probably it's too expensive.
Well, I saw a video where a guy claimed he had an inside buddy that worked for a marketing company that did a study and went back to Paramount for critical feedback, both positive and negative. And the one thing they said was you're oversaturating the market with too many shows, too many different series, but also that if they do Starfleet Academy, make it a mini series because you're really better off sticking with Star Trek Picard and Strange New Worlds because those are the shows that get the buzz. And yeah, like you guys have just said, that it is expensive and you guys should kind of stretch it out more. And I would think with economics they likely will. If Paramount Plus were to fold, they could be like Sony and make stuff and then sell it to Amazon or the other streamers as well. And I do think there's enough of an audience. I mean, we're going to see, it sounds like Prodigy is going to wind up at Amazon, season 2 of Prodigy, which I really hope happens. And again, they certainly are moving forward with post-production. Wayne, did you see
they actually had, I didn't get to the panel, but they did have scenes that we saw in the room where they did show elements from the next season. So it is there. It's just, they're just putting the finishing touches to it.
Yeah. And we're waiting to hear.
How would that work if it went to Amazon as a season 2? There's no guarantee for a season 3 unless Amazon says it does really well and they want a season 3 or
sure. Yeah. And I would imagine they'll get season 1 to run aside it. I would imagine that's the case.
Well, they pulled it off Paramount, so yeah, that would make sense.
Yeah, I would hope so.
Whichever streamer gets it, we'll get 1 and 2 because if you're not going to split the seasons up to different streamers. You'd want to put everything into the same basket. So the licensing works.
I want to acknowledge some comments here from people. Let's see. Radium says, I missed a lot of new Trek. I love season 3 of Picard. What's the best thing to jump to? Unfortunately, they pulled it off.
Picard.
Well, beyond season 3 of Picard, I would say Prodigy. I mean, I really and unfortunately, you'd have to buy the physical DVDs to see it. Mm-hmm. But I mean, and even in that group chat on the beat, they're like, Prodigy is like the best, even better than Strange New Worlds in terms of advancing the story too, beyond where we were at the end of Star Trek Nemesis and the ends of Voyager and DS9. And yeah, I think even though it was made for kids, it's the most Star Trek of the new Trek shows. So that would be my comment. Langley said about Scotty, the same week before Scotty was introduced, I said, at least they didn't bring Scotty onto the ship, and then this happened. But I appreciate the situation-based reasoning for his inclusion. I kind of agree. And the other thing I wanted to ask, guys, regarding Scotty and all of the cast members we have of Strange New Worlds. So the people we know that no matter what should survive to the original series, you got Pike, you got Spock, you have M'Benga, you have Chapel, you have Uhura. Who else am I missing? That is definitely Scotty, of course, Kirk. 7 cast members. So no matter what danger you put them in, they ain't gonna die. I've never heard. Mitch and I were talking last week. I had never heard the phrase plot armor until discussions about. And guys, if you've heard about it with other IPs, feel free to educate me. But it's kind of true that the stakes are diminished when you know, again, 7 cast members are going to be okay. Ortegas, Una, and there's a third. Who am I missing? Pelia. Yeah, Pelia. So is it just those 3?
And
La'an. Thank you. So yeah, 4 out of 7, 4 out of 11. I don't think that's good. But that's
well, I've said this before to you here and other times when we've talked about shows. Like when they do prequel shows, it really tends to annoy the fuck out of me because we know what happens to these characters, or I know what happens. So
Mhm.
I'm not going to get vested into, oh, this person might die in this episode, because I know they're not.
Yeah.
Because they wind up, we see them later on. So
Yeah.
I've always had an issue with the
Unless, of course,
prequels.
One
Unless,
of
of course, you're correct, and this is indeed an alternate universe, in which case anything could happen to any of them.
Well, I hear you, Scott. They
I'm
certainly.
kidding. I don't believe that for a
Well, okay,
second.
because as you know, I mean, the producers protest to the contrary, even when, as evidenced by the time travel Toronto episode with Kirk and Laan. Oh no, this all fits. No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't. Sorry. And you know, Franco, I would always counter argue with you and say it's not about the destination; it's about the journey.
Yeah.
But I think you can tell good walking between the raindrop stories between the Cage Menagerie and just as we're in the original series proper and everything. But again, I think they play with this stuff, and it kind of bums me out. Langley agrees with you, Franco.
If you think about it, how many characters from the original series died during that show?
That's true, and that's
Who
fine.
weren't wearing a red shirt.
But again,
nobody from the next generation.
But
Scott,
Scott,
doesn't-
in argument to that, I would say if there's a contract negotiation, Spock's gone. You know, like, you know what I'm saying? Is like there's
but
always
also,
I know, but there's
Scott,
always a
that's-
possibility because you don't know.
That's
You
an
know?
unfair. Yeah, but that's an to me that argument doesn't make sense. It's apples and oranges. Original series was made to just be its own thing, and nobody. Well, actually, I was going to say nobody died on the Ponderosa Bonanza. That's not true. Haas died. I mean, so or not Haas. Was it Haas? Yeah, Haas.
Yeah, it was Haas.
Yeah, Haas died. But then again, that was Franco's argument that Dan Blocker. Hey, I want more money. Well, see you later, Haas.
Yeah.
You gotta go. So I
one of
Go
the
ahead.
few series that I would say that the prequel is better than the original is Better Call Saul.
Sure.
I think is much superior than to Breaking Bad.
Sure. Art Balthasar will disagree with you.
But
that's-
again, you know nothing's going to happen to Saul. I haven't.
Well, I
seen
know
the
that
series,
nothing was going to happen,
yeah.
but I thought overall the story that they told with Better Call Saul was better than Breaking Bad.
well, you learn how Jimmy becomes Saul, and it's Jimmy's journey as where he starts at the beginning of Better Call
And it's
Saul.
just like Strange
Yeah.
New Worlds. We know what's going to happen to Pike. He's going to end up in a chair, whether or not it's a wheelchair, like in the Kelvin universe, because that's what happened to Pike. He just ended up in a wheelchair, or he actually ends up in the beep beep chair.
Well, again, based on what he saw from and I'm rolling my eyes even mentioning it, the Klingon time crystals, it does seem to be more than just he's in a wheelchair. I mean, he is horribly disfigured.
Oh yeah,
We're given at least the assumption that he is going to be in that, again, beeping sort of binary trapped in his body
Mhm.
fate.
Well, Mariner referred to it too.
Say it again.
Mariner referred to it as well.
And
Yeah.
in lower decks, we had that scene on, was it Risa or some other pleasure planet where we see other guys in the Pike chair on the beach and just beeping, hopefully contently. But here, all right, Mike wants to talk about the plot armor thing. To handle the plot armor fear, they should acknowledge that this is another timeline and all bets are off. I agree. No, do something bold and kill Uhura, Mabenga, name your TOS survivor to show. But again, do they have the nuts to do that? I don't think they do. I think they want to. Oh no, this all fits. Go ahead, Scott.
Remember Smallville when they killed Jimmy Olsen?
But again, Smallville was different. Like, it was a different story. They didn't necessarily,
Right, but that was supposed to be Jimmy Olsen until we found out it wasn't.
it was a different Jimmy
That could
Olsen.
easily be the case. How's that?
It was a different Jimmy Olsen.
Yeah, it was his older brother with the same name.
Very uninspired parents.
Yeah.
Jimmy, this is my other
Well,
son. Jimmy.
it's practical. In case something happens to this one, we got another one.
Got a
It's
spare.
It's Larry, Daryl, and Daryl. Absolutely, man. Here, Aristotle.
I think that was the case. If I'm not mistaken, Van Gogh had an older brother by a year, and he died. But his parents named him Vincent. And then when he died, they named the next kid Vincent. So
Vincent,
yeah.
too.
Yeah.
I'll be honest. I also this is Aristides saying this. I'll be honest. I also get distracted by the slickness of modern design of the tech. but I could put that aside and enjoy the show. But it's still too many of the original crew in the show. I completely agree. They instead they really should have created a bunch of newer characters. That Hemmer was expendable, obviously. It's Mike says it's the George Foreman kid naming convention. That's very true. This is Georgette. This is Georgina. Absolutely true. Here he goes. If you're going to break canon, really break it, says Langley. Make it a compelling story. Make a compelling story out of it. Absolutely, man. And again, this is where I think, Scott, I will disagree with you and say, don't worry, I'm going to disagree with everybody. I'll take on 3 against 1. It's all right. But no, honestly, where in terms of you comparing it to Berman Trek, I just think they were more capable than what we're getting. And
of course they were, but they had also had. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, everyone should read that Beat discussion. It's on the Beat's website about Strange New Worlds, and they are much more focused on loving the characters, loving the characterization, and what they never really talk about is, are we really getting some interesting sci-fi ideas? Excuse me, Scott, go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say, of course, the Berman stuff was done better. They also had years and years and dozens and hundreds of episodes to play with. I mean, we're looking at, okay, new Trek, NU Trek. Okay, so how many episodes is that so far? Well, like Discovery has had 40 episodes?
Yeah, like 50, because I think they had 15 episodes.
Yeah, I mean, there's really not that much. And if you go back to like the Next Generation, DS9, Voyager, and even Enterprise, how many hundreds of episodes is that? I'm impressed by the fact that we started off with that first episode of Discovery, and we're here now. And we've talked about it before. I feel like the needle has moved. It moved from what they were doing to closer to what it should be. Now, it might not be there yet, but they're going to get there. I mean, if you look at it from a creative standpoint and as a creator, you can see the sweeping changes they've made to this franchise from the beginning of Discovery to now.
I agree with that.
And I think it's amazing because it's been somewhat subtle. They haven't just like dropped it on you and said, okay, well, now we're doing this. And it's getting back to where it needs to be. And so it's kind of fun watching the journey.
I agree with you to a point. And let me say that I like what they're doing with the Gorn. I think it's really interesting that, that they're dealing with a species and they don't know what they're really kind of dealing with. But my issue is that we've met the Gorn in the original series, and that was the first time we ever saw them. So why is all this happening? Granted, they changed the Gorn and they made him like all lizard-like and stuff like that, as opposed to the and he and
the rubber suit.
Yeah, and he can barely move and stuff like that. I get the advances of technology and all that other stuff, but it doesn't explain how we've never seen him before. We've never seen them before. Kirk on that planet is the first one to see them up close, personal for the first time. So how do we get away with explaining this? If I detach myself and this is an alternate universe, I'm going along for the ride and I'm liking it. But it doesn't jive with what they've already set up. So I agree with you that, yeah, they're moving the needle from where they were to where they're going, but not all the way. It's all over the place for me.
Go ahead, Wayne.
This version of the Gorn is more like the Magog from Andromeda. The ability, the way that they not populate,
hiss,
propagate
is through saliva, the spitting. The same thing is with the Magog, and that the eggs hatch within the host's body, and that was the big fear in Andromeda was the Magog. So a lot of I find that the elements that they're using for the Gorn really go back to another Roddenberry concept, the Magog. So if they would have tweaked it a little bit and called it anything but the Gorn,
well, that was my point. If it was a different species
I think
altogether,
it could work. And then a lot of the older fans will go, okay, I can live with this now because it's not the Gorn.
But they also, and again, broken record time. Come on, guys. This is an Aliens ripoff. We all know it. We all see it. This is no different than Ridley in Alien 3 getting face to face with the xenomorphs. Xenomorphs?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Xenomorph.
I don't have a real issue with
that,
that.
and also giving the Gorn the tail, and Spock is sitting there. There's the tail behind him and stuff. And honestly, Franco, I guess, but these writers have no original ideas, and people, it's an homage. No, it's not. James Cameron, if he wants to, should be in a courtroom right now
But
and
even
Exhibit A,
Aliens,
Exhibit B, Exhibit C. Go ahead, Wayne.
a lot of that stuff is tropes. It's tropes from previous science fiction movies. You can go back.
But you don't have to. You don't have to lift exactly same shots, and that's again.
That's more from
so
the
many
Fincher
camera
movie.
angles.
Say it again.
That's
There's
from
only
the
so
Fincher
many
movie.
camera angles, Johnny.
I don't. It's funny, guys. We were talking off the air. I watched the Babylon 5 cartoon. Another thing that people point to in the finale of season 2 is when the Gorn ship comes and you got the all of a sudden the planet goes dark and all that.
Mhm.
And people are like, wow, that's Independence Day, and it's like, yeah. Do it from there are different angles, Franco. I would disagree with you. Don't make it look. I know you're messing with me. I know you're messing with me. It's cool. Again, you guys can mess with me. It's all right. I don't mind. Here, Langley says, I have a fundamental problem with the producers saying the Gorn are evil. It's antithetical to what Star Trek is about. No race is evil, just has a different morality. I think that's a part 1 thing. I think in part 2, they're going to communicate with the Gorn and suddenly realize, and again, or maybe not. I don't know. Again, because frankly, you're right. Is it a different universe, or are they hoping still to make this fit with Arena? I don't. We'll know in 3 years.
I agree that Pike is going to try and communicate, because they telegraphed that when he had that conversation in the barber shop.
Well, and I'm betting too, with Batel having the eggs and putting her in stasis, that either Batel is going to be able to communicate with the Gorn, or something.
Also, there's Lon, because they learned how to communicate on the planet with the lights. So there's multiple elements that they could do with multiple character points that they could use to communicate with the Gorn.
I hear you. Aristides, good comments today. He says it's canon break if you think about any of it. I detach myself. That's how I get by. It's a good way to explain it. Yeah. I hear you, man. Don Lenza joining us too, and says they crashed the ship without checking for survivors. Yeah,
They did.
Yeah, so
Yeah, they scanned the ship before the communications went out.
And it is weird that only Chapel, really. I mean, again, convenient for the plot, but only Chapel's the survivor. There should have been a couple.
Well, again, she's the only one who can't die, so everybody else on the ship died except for her.
Plot armor, absolutely. Boy, thank God I got this plot armor on. Yeah. Everything's going to be fine.
It's a good thing I'm in the original series. I'll make it through this.
And I'm really bummed that we didn't get at least some sort of Chapel Spock discussion between them of Spock, I know I've been cold lately. This is why something, as opposed to, and I get that there was an emergency. No time for love, Dr. Jones. We got to go to the bridge.
Yeah, hold on to your potato. Yeah.
And I understand that, but again, it's like I really felt like on the musical and also this final episode, man, Chapel is like one steely, cold person.
But she became steely after she met Boimler. Boimler screwed everything up,
and that's okay. And I wish they would explore that more, Wayne. Honestly, I don't know. Any thoughts on all this, Scott? As far as what we've just been talking about?
No, I mean, my feelings about canon breaking. There was a show that I watched in the early 90s where the first season was completely different from the second season, and I found a way to.
Was that War of the Worlds, right, man?
War of the Worlds, right.
No. Hey, man. Like,
I don't feel like I need to bring it up every single time.
But you got to remember, we're doing it on the air now. I know you've told me before, but
I mentioned it every single time I've been on the show, too.
I remember that show. Yeah.
But season one, had one group of showrunners, and season 2 had a different group.
Sure.
And they broke canon left and right, and they didn't want to. They're very much aware of what the canon was, but they thought, well, this doesn't work for where we want to go. We're just going to do this. And as a viewer, you had to decide, okay, how do I feel about this? And there are some people who said exactly what you're saying about Strange New Worlds, that it's an alternate universe. There are some people who were just ready to just torch the second season and walk away, which was like 90% of the people who watch it. Then there are people like me that like tried to fit the little things into the holes and just made sure that worked for them. And so, I view everything where it's canon breaking from that perspective, because I was exposed to that like when I was 19, 20 years old. And it's like, all right, well, I like the show. So and this is what they've done. They've already put it on film. I can't do anything about it. And so I'm just gonna accept it for what it is. And the stuff that doesn't fit, I'll either come up with a reason why for myself, or I'll ignore it. And that's, as a viewer, that's the way I'm looking at it. So I see this as the actual universe, but that's me, because I'm able to like fit square pegs in round holes because I've been doing it for 30 years.
I understand. And again, I appreciate as storytellers, two of our panelists, Wayne, I will accept as an amateur storyteller, maybe as I am. Here, Aristides, an interesting question for the group. Here, do you feel that they know or care about TOS? Were they fans or engaged in the lore, or even watched it all the way through? Or is it, hey, let's just do what we think Trek is?
I think they're fans. I think they're fans because they bring it up in every interview. And I think they're well aware of some of this stuff. I think with something like the Gorn, and they tried to do it with the Klingons in Discovery too, where they're like, oh, this will be cool if we do this. And I think it clearly didn't work with the Klingons, but I think with the Gorn, it works just fine. And I think that they didn't like the guy in the rubber suit.
What do you think, Wayne?
So,
I'm sorry, finish.
No, that's it. I'm pretty much done.
Go ahead, Wayne.
No, I agree with what Scott's saying. I think they really did not like the guy in the rubber suit, because they're going, look, we have our advances in technology and what we can do for special effects. The Gorn should not look like the creature from the Black Lagoon.
Well, I think beyond the Gorn, and obviously Akiva Goldsman has a real a positive heart-on for wanting to tell a more nuanced Gorn story than what we got in the original series in Arena. And also, I got to rewatch that Enterprise episode where the Gorn pop up. And it's funny, I've been reading about the Star Trek novels, and I know there's a Gorn Next Generation story that was in one of the novels as well. But I think in general, they're trying to serve both in terms of, and also, again, I kind of feel as an old Trek fan, they're kind of gaslighting me, saying, "Oh no, hold on, Wayne.
Yeah.
That, oh yeah, we believe in canon, and absolutely all this fits. But by the same token, yeah, they want to play, and they want to stretch things as much as they can." Go ahead, Wayne.
I think we knew they were going to play because in Lorca's ready room, he had a Gorn skeleton. So right off the bat,
and a Tribble or two.
Yes, he did.
Again, right off the bat, we know that this whole universe, as much as they want to say, yes, this is part of the original series, it'll fit. Right off the bat, you just said, no, it can't fit because there's elements that were introduced in the very first series that doesn't even come into play until later on. Now, the Tribbles could have existed prior. We just never saw it.
I agree.
Because we don't know what Cyrano Jones did prior with those Tribbles.
Absolutely.
They existed. So they could have infected other planets.
But the Gorn skeleton was
the Gorn skeleton was
well, he was from a different universe too, though.
You're right about that as well. Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
And clearly that the Jonathan Archer in that universe had encountered the Gorn.
That's true too. You're right. In the mirror. So, well said, Scott. Wow, good.
It all fits.
I'm glad Scott's here.
So these are the mirror universe Gorn that have infected the TOS line. Yes, that'll work.
That's
actually that's not a bad storyline.
Mike Jones says also Sequest. Nothing. And
God!
But then he points out nothing will ever beat the tone shift of Baywatch Nights, which tried to cash in on the X-File craze. I am so with them. That show was absolutely fun for the most ridiculous reasons. That Hasselhoff goes from the beach to doing the Baywatch Nights weird investigation stuff that he did.
Yeah, DSV did go off the rails fast.
I like and I mean, I wasn't a consistent Sequest watcher, but I really like Michael Ironside, and as much as it sucked that Roy Scheider left, and I'm sure it was like, all right, this is more cockamamie than I thought. Get me out of here. But I always like when Michael Ironside shows up in something.
If I'm not mistaken, isn't it the end of the second season? The spaceship takes the DSV vehicle.
I don't remember. Is that how it ended?
Oh, no. That's just in between. It's either the end of the first season or the end of the second season. Some aliens need the DSV. They need the Sequest to save a planet or something. And then you go into the next season and that the Sequest is back. And it's just like, hey, let's forget all that stuff.
Well, and as Langley says, all they really have to do with Discovery and Strange New Worlds, although it wouldn't be a Pike show, but put them in the future. Yeah. And all that, a lot of that is solved. Whereas, again, I don't know. Justin says, and I hear him, this is the first time I watched Star Trek that made me feel like I was 7 years old again. I hope that's a positive thing, Justin.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. Mario wanted to know, because I just had Mark Bernardin on about his new Muhammad Ali graphic novel, and Mark was one of the writers on Picard season 2. Something, Mark or Mario, I didn't feel comfortable at that moment, either on or off the air, to bring that up with Bernardin. I really think that's going to have to be a kind of us at a bar somewhere and going, hey, how much you want to say? Because also there's NDAs. And a lot of the writers that I know a lot of writers that and I don't feel I'm betraying any confidentiality here, but that are frustrated with New Trek. That said, they would love to work with New Trek. And so they're not going to let a lot of their feelings be known publicly. And I respect that, again, because, you want the chance to work and hopefully make it better or whatever. I just know there are enough examples of people that have worked on New Trek that came from the novels or have been very upfront going, oh, I'm a huge fan. And it's one voice shouted down by the powers that be, Kurtzman, Chabon, Goldsman, Henry Alonzo Myers, all these guys, and some of the key individual writers as well of these shows. We're seeing the end result no matter what. And Justin, to clarify, says, oh, no, it's definitely a positive thing. I love seeing them. And, just seeing them has always been great. Hey, guys, honestly, I'm the biggest critic here of New Trek. That said, I am thrilled that we're getting new Star Trek product. I will, again, broken record. Every week I say, well, maybe I'll like the next episode better. And I have to say that Lower Decks says we're getting closer to season 4 of Lower Decks. I think that show has done nothing but improve every season. I am looking forward to Lower Decks. I love Prodigy. And I will even say if we decide to move on to just in general the season, and I've even got the list of the episodes, and we can go through them if you guys don't remember enough to have a count. Like I said, I gave the season a C-. There were 10 episodes. I genuinely liked 3 episodes. And it might shock you to hear the first one that I say it. I loved the crossover. The crossover was very well executed. They let us know way ahead of time that they were going to do it. So it wasn't a surprise to me that it was a broad comedy, but I thought they hit the notes very, very well, and was surprised by things like the Boimler Chapel conversation or some of the others that will have an impact beyond the cuteness of the episode itself. Mm-hmm. I also love the MASH episode, the 8th episode. The trauma of M'Benga and Chapel and Ortegas being in the Klingon War. I do have my little nitpicks, but overall, I thought it was an excellent episode. And I really, really liked the finale. Again, aside from some of the little nitpicks of, present the Gorn, but don't make it so aliens. They can't help themselves. They've been doing that since they've reintroduced the Gorn. So I really, really love those 3 episodes. I feel like there were 5 episodes that were just okay. I had my problems with them. But in fairness, during the Berman era of Trek, there are a lot of just okay episodes when they had 20 seasons or 20 episodes to play with. So that's just going to happen. You can't hit a home run every time. And I respect that. There were 2 other gimmicky episodes, the musical and Spock being human, that I just felt too broad, too goofy. The musical, yeah, that's cute, but I felt too early. And I agree with you, Wayne. It's very obvious that it's something we've discussed in previous episodes, that they're trying to cram everything in a short amount of time because they almost feel like they don't have the space to really stretch out.
It's almost like they know that they see the writing on the wall and they just want to get all their ideas out as quickly as possible.
Mhm.
I agree. No, I agree. There are some that say season 3 might be it for Strange New Worlds. Again, because of the expense, we might get more episodes. But yeah, as much as Goldsman and Myers would love for it to run 10 episodes or 10 seasons, I think there might be a reality of that's probably not going to happen.
Where did Strange New Worlds end up on the top 10? Because I know Picard was on there, and I was under the assumption Strange New Worlds was as well.
Well, honestly, Scott, I don't know. And if people watching want to do the legwork to see, I honestly, I don't know. Justin says he thought the musical episode was the worst by far. Aristides disagrees. Or he thinks it wasn't very inspired. He thinks it just wasn't very inspired. I compare it to, of course, Once More with Feeling, the Buffy episode, which was amazing. Yeah, and again, and sorry, really, Wayne, it's going to sound like I'm picking you, but it's like I just felt like immediately the Buffy episode had catchy songs. I just didn't think these were catchy. I really didn't.
You know what though, John? We were talking beforehand, and you said, because you're like, oh, I'm gonna watch the musical episode. It's not gonna be good, but we'll see how it goes. Blah blah blah. But you did say, I hope they don't do what they did with the CW Flash and Supergirl, and they did not. They also gave it a reason for it to be happening. And
I completely agree
too.
No, I agree with that. And I do think those are positive things about the musical episode. If people don't remember, the Flash Supergirl crossover musical episode was just them. It was like Glee. They were just singing.
Well, I was going to say they had to do that musical episode with the Flash and Supergirl because they both came from Glee. So they had no choice.
And Joe West was in Rent, that actor, and I forget his name. And
Jesse.
Oh, Jesse Martin. Thank you, Scott. And then also Professor Stein from Legends. Victor
Garber.
Yeah, Victor Garber was Jesus in Godspell. Yeah. So, I get it. They had musical people on the show, so I don't blame them. But again, yeah, it would have been more inspired for them to come up with actual songs that actually fit their characters. And that's why I get it, and I hear you, and agree that, yes, the songs they made, hey, they had musical people come in to write these original songs.
Yeah.
And obviously they fit the characters. But other than Chapel's F.U. Spock, I'm going off with Dr. Corby. Most of the songs, and I guess number one song that was kind of a play on Gilbert and Sullivan a bit. Those are the only like happy songs. Otherwise it was, and We Are Starfleet, the grand finale. By the way, that's another thing, you'll forgive me, but really, Wayne, when they're, hi, I'm Lieutenant Uhura. I guess most of you don't know who I am. And I'm like, come on, you're the communications officer. If there's one bridge officer that probably everyone in the crew knows, it's her. And further, it opens with, oh, we're having a really big problem with communications. I got to be like a switchboard operator and talk to everybody. So I don't understand.
Yeah, but she's just the first shift. There's other shifts.
What's that?
There's other shifts and other communication officers.
I just saw it
sing a song for the musical, Wayne. What now?
Hey, John. Who's the communications officer on the Cerritos?
I don't know.
Well, there you go.
No, there you don't go. Sorry.
There you go. You can't name that character.
No, again,
who's
the communication officer on Discovery? We don't know.
Well, that's something different.
Well, that's an entire Discovery problem. I completely agree. But no, you come on, Scott. You're playing with me, and I realize
sure.
that. But yeah, it's give me a break. All right.
Hey, a question the short episodes that we had,
short treks.
Short treks. When number one and Spock were in the elevator, was that during this episode? Is that because no. I'm confused now as to
earlier?
Yeah, it was way earlier because she referenced it. Someone referenced it during her court trial in episode 2.
Okay. And also, it sounded like Spock was like brand new to the Enterprise in that.
Right.
So yeah.
Yeah, and Spock referenced it when he gave testimony about the number one's character.
So why were they singing in that episode again?
Even Langley says, yeah, TNG era doesn't have a communications officer. Same with DS9. Same with Voyager. I don't know, man. I don't know. And again, maybe it's the future. I don't know. Open a channel.
In the future, they don't need one.
Exactly. I don't know.
Actually, I think Worf was the communications officer because he was standing behind Picard all the time, pressing the buttons.
Before he became security?
Even when security, someone had to press the buttons behind Picard.
Maybe. All right. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. Aristides said that his favorite episode was the MASH episode. I think so too. That was my favorite overall. So yeah, season wide, guys. I can if you want, I can run through the titles and a brief comment if you don't remember the episodes. But the first episode they went to the fuel planet where the Klingons were there, and they had to do their stuff over there. That was one that had good stuff in it, but I had my issues with. Second episode was Una's court trial. Third was the Toronto time travel episode. 4 was Among the Lotus Eaters. That's when they went back to Rigel 7, and they had trouble with their memories and stuff. 5th was Charades. That's the Spock turning human. 6 was Lost in Translation. That was the Uhura seeing Hemmer's ghost, and Kirk and La'an running around the ship, or rather Kirk and Uhura running around the ship, and we get the Kirk Spock first meeting. 7 was the crossover. 8 was the MASH episode. 9 was the musical, and 10 was the Gorn War, or whatever. You know what I'm saying. So yeah, any thoughts on the whole season, Francis? Would you give it a letter grade?
Not as good as the first season, but I each episode grew on me. I liked it more and more as we went on. I would give it a good B+, I think. Yeah, I really liked the first season. This one, not as much, but up there. I liked it.
Wayne?
I agree with Franco, B+.
Okay.
The episodes worked for me. It wasn't as strong as the first season, but again, I think it comes down to if the focus was strictly on characterization as opposed to storytelling, then that's what this season was. They want to introduce all the characters to you.
What do you think, Scott?
I'd go B+. The only thing that I found troublesome in the show was the new Captain Kirk. And I just think he's horribly miscast.
Yeah.
And at the very least, they should have just dyed his hair. At the very least, they could. And the thing that's really goofy about that was I saw an interview with him, and his hair was like somewhat blonde. And it's like, guys, what are you doing? Why is it black on the show? That's the biggest problem I had with the season. I did think the episode where Uhura saw Hemmer's ghost was a little dull. But other than that, I was fairly happy with the rest of it.
So a B? Would you give it a B? I don't know.
A B+.
Okay. All right. Here are more comments from the people. Mike did the research regarding where they landed on the Nielsen streaming ratings. According to the interwebs, the first 2 episodes of this season in June broke the top 10 at number 7 and number 8, respectively. That's great. Fantastic. Langley says, my favorite episodes were the trial, the MASH episode, and the finale, and any scene involving Christina Chong. Absolutely. I'd follow that woman to the pits of hell just to have her smile at me. She is a lovely woman.
I met her in Dublin. Very lovely woman.
I've met her several times. She's an extremely lovely woman.
I'm with you. No, I get. Yeah, I'm sorry I haven't had the pleasure. I was satisfied meeting the lovely Rebecca Romaine.
I told her that you hated the musical episode, Johnny.
That's okay. What'd she say?
And she was like, she goes, well, it was charted in the U.S. I said, yeah, he still hates it, but we love Trek all together.
Great, man.
Yeah.
I'm sure she'll forget should I ever meet her unless we're together. Oh, yeah, this is the guy.
Yeah.
Oh, don't worry. We'll remind her.
Yeah, I was going to say, I'll remind you.
I will own all of my feelings. Although, again, I will never, should any Strange New World cast member or any new Trek cast member wind up on Word Balloon. I in fact, even prior to the strike, as we all know, I was going to do two Star Trek panels. I would never, embarrass myself or a cast member and go, hey, you know why your show sucked? And again,
Why
also,
would you? Yeah.
I'm sorry, C-. I don't. Again, it's a passing grade.
John, I got to ask you a question. What did you give Discovery season 1?
Oh my God.
That is a really good question, and I will tell you, Scott, I'm not sure, but I will say that since first watching it, that season to me is the best Discovery season. I know everyone points to season 2 with the introduction of Pike, but what I didn't like the resolution. I mean, my God, hey, I got my hand on a button and I'll blow up Kronos if you don't go to peace. Okay. I hated the way they played Sarek and being amused by Michael Burnham. That seemed very un-Sarek-like to me. But I really, really liked Lorca. I did like, until it got creepy with Mirror Lorca, like wanting Burnham sexually. That was really creepy and I think unnecessary. Jason Isaacs' Lorca was outstanding and a real mystery until we got to the resolution. Then it was like, I felt Giorgio, I didn't mind, although, normal Giorgio didn't get much airtime beyond the pilot. Mir Giorgio, when she's eating Kelpin, Saru's race, I'm like, you're all right. And now, oh man, we love Mir Giorgio. And I'm like, she's a cannibal. And no, I'm not going to get behind her hold on, Wayne. I'm not going to get behind her as a character when they made her that extremely evil. I think she's irredeemable, frankly. Go ahead, Wayne.
She's not a cannibal. She's a carnivore. Because, like, we
yeah,
eat
but they're
fish.
intelligent.
We don't eat
Dolphin.
I do believe the Japanese eat dolphin.
Do
and
they?
They're intelligent.
Well, then I got a problem with the Japanese. I didn't know that.
No,
Yes, they
I'm
do.
just saying,
I'm having a flipper sandwich.
I'm having a flipper and nutter sandwich, peanut butter sandwich.
and nutter. Fantastic. I can't eat dolphin unless there's peanut butter on it.
Before I forget, Scott, when I met Paul in Vegas a couple of weeks ago, his hair is dark. It is actually a darker color.
Oh, is it?
Yeah. It's very similar to that color.
Wayne, I want to hear about this. Is a good opportunity. Wayne,
okay.
Tell us about Star Trek Vegas. Absolutely.
And
also,
a lot of NDAs, not NDAs, whatever the SAG rules are, we're definitely into play. But the best night was the TNG reunion panel that I was at, and Terry Metalis was the moderator, and he does not care about whatever the rules are. Now, because considering he's WGA and a PGA, you would think there'd be something, but he was talking to, and again, it's more or less, he wants to really pitch Star Trek Legacy. He wants to do Star Trek Legacy really, really bad. Because he was talking about using Denise Crosby's character Sela in the next series. And they also brought up, because Frakes got into the conversation too, going, well, there's also Will Riker. We know he's sitting in prison somewhere. And Metalis goes, you know what? Sela can go out and break him out of prison, not a problem. What do you guys think of that? What do you guys think of that? And as he is talking about this, what, sorry?
Yeah, Thomas Riker. Yeah, but you had to go. Yeah, good flag, Scott. Yes, go on, Wayne.
Yeah, as he was talking about this stuff, you could see Gates McFadden really squirming because
but
they went right off into, and any of the times that I was talking with Terry, not an issue. Whatever you want to talk about, he'll talk about it.
But respectfully, in his case, it wouldn't be, because the WGA are not under the same restrictions as the actors. So I do understand why Terry felt free to do that. However, there was a big controversy, and I don't know if it hit the went. Yeah, go ahead, Wayne.
Oh, okay. Now, besides your controversy with Robert Beltran, I'll tell you what also happened with him at the show. So, I was in a VIP session with some of the.
Okay, wait. Before you get into that, Wayne, I was in Europe last week, so I missed everything. What happened with Beltran?
Yeah, tell the controversy about Beltran that everyone knows.
Okay,
first.
No. There's your controversy, and then there's a second one.
Well, it's not mine; it's the public's problem.
Okay. I'm just saying.
Say it.
But there's also this is a different.
Okay, Wayne, tell about yours first. Go ahead.
Oh no, you go ahead, John. I don't want to steal your
Well,
thunder.
I was doing it given that you were there, Wayne, but fine. I will say.
Oh yeah, but no, what he was talking about was he doesn't care what SAG says. He says, you know what? If they really give a damn about whatever I say, it doesn't make any sense that we can't talk about the show. And you know what? If they want my SAG card, they can have my SAG card. I'll just go and do theater for the rest of my life. I really don't care.
Wow.
And that's what he laid it online, because anytime they mentioned like Star Trek or something, there was like a sound effect at some of the panels to go bleeping. Oh, remember, you're not supposed to talk about this. And he just thought it was the stupidest thing ever. Now, but what you were talking about earlier was something else that he said, wasn't it?
Go on, Wayne.
No. Wasn't there any comments?
Well,
about...
there was someone online that supported Beltran and then took it further to say, yeah, there's too much woke crap out there, and everyone's more worried about sexual orientation than they are about being Star Trek fans, and they feel like they're the only true Star Trek fans. And Beltran agreed, and I think he doubly got flack for being essentially a scab when it comes to the SAG rules, and that he doubled down agreeing with this person that was so anti-LGBTQ plus, schmear. And but no, go ahead, Wayne. What happened?
Just to answer Langley's question, there's different versions of equity. The theater is separate from the SAG actors equity.
Oh, absolutely.
So there's a different equity card that he could get and just do strictly theater for the rest of his life. He's not limited to what to say, whatever he wants to say.
Yeah, actors' equity is different from the Screen Actors Guild. Screen being the operative word. Mm-hmm. And in fact, this morning, Eric McCormick from Will and Grace, and oh god, I can't think of the SNL actor's name. Alex Winter, I want to say. They're on a Broadway play. They were on Morning Joe on MSNBC this morning, and Mika Brzezinski was very like, "Hey, just so you know, they're here to talk about the Broadway show that they're currently doing that is allowed under Screen Actors Guild rules. We're not going to talk about Will and Grace. We're not going to talk about Saturday Night Live." And they, proceeded to talk about the play. But no, absolutely, and that's the thing. I think a lot of people in the general public don't understand these shades of gray and these differences. And I can understand it. Hey, wait a minute. I mean, God, as we know, Mitch was getting grief about Terrificon even having these people at the convention. It's like, no, they're allowed to do that. It's okay. So no, honestly, Wayne, I do want to hear about
and the other stuff too, like for signatures and that. Very few actors were going to sign like their character's name. So what they would sign is they just sign their own. They'd autograph whatever photo you had, but it would just be Jerry Ryan, Robert Beltran.
Okay.
They wouldn't put their character's name on it. Some did. Some specifically said that they will not do their character's names.
Do they usually do that?
No, they usually do their character's name if you ask for it.
Okay.
Real fast, Billy D. Williams at Terrificon a couple of years ago before the last Skywalker, his handler, I bought a Schlitz Malt Liquor Bowl ad, and his handler, like a grandson yelling at his grandfather going, "Do not sign the Schlitz Malt Liquor Bowl, Lando. This is just you." It's like, and he goes, "He's been signing Lando on everything." I'm like, okay, whatever. But Wayne, I want to hear about your VIP Beltran story, please.
The VIP was he just went on because one of the guys said, "Aren't you worried about getting a note from the nanny?" Because of his comments that he was been making. And he's going, "Who the fuck's the nanny?" and then the guy went, "Oh no, Fran Drescher, the president of, saying, I don't care. We can talk about whatever we want. This is the stupidest thing ever." Like he just went into, and he says, "If they want my SAG card, take my SAG card. I'll just do," and he said, "I'll just do theater for the rest of my life and I'll be happy."
Stephen Amell apparently also breaking the SAG rules and is out there talking Arrow and stuff like that. Very interesting. Very interesting. I won't deny in my own capacity here at Wordballoon that I am frustrated because I did reach out to a couple actors right before the strike, and then the strike happened, and it's like, all right, I understand you can't talk. I mean, my God, it just happened to me. I don't mind saying it. Selene Thomas and Frank Miller. I figured, all right, well, we at the very least we could talk about comics. And they're like, no, out of respect for the unions and stuff, we really want to wait until the strikes are over. Okay. I mean, I respect. I mean, that's the thing, man. If just like people who won't autograph with their character names, I respect that. Wayne, I've got your 3 photos that you put up today, and I'll share them with everybody as we're talking here. Oh, that's funny. Chris wants to know. I'm late, but I'm dying to know what John thinks of the new Scotty. Real fast, I like the guy. I think he does the character well. My only small complaint is he seems very young compared to original series Scotty, who clearly was at least 10 or 15 years older than Kirk and Spock and might be a contemporary of McCoy's. But this guy clearly looks younger than Strange New Worlds Kirk and Spock. So that's my little complaint. What else here? Let's see. I'm looking through the comments. I also have comments on Patreon, my Patreon.
Oh, and Terry Metalis did say that they have a way to bring back Captain Liam.
I've heard
in
Star
Star
Trek
Trek.
that as well.
No, he actually he said that. Yeah, no. What is the expression? My captain, whatever.
Oh, Captain, my captain.
Oh, Captain, my captain. Yeah, he wants to bring back Captain Liam, and he knows how to do it.
Yeah, I've heard Todd say the same thing.
See, and then Todd, no problem. I'll write Shaw. It really depended on the actor what they wanted to do.
Yeah, well, having it's a bit of a mess when there's a whole bunch of people involved in your contract negotiations and stuff like that.
Hey, correct me if I'm wrong, but people are paying for these autographs, aren't they?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why? These are just like people like you and I. It's not like a corporate executive from Paramount walking up saying, "Here, sign this Shaw."
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
but it's still considered promotion, and that's the problem. Yeah. It's the definition of what is promotion.
Well,
when
and
you
again,
actually look into the wording of what does this word really mean, it can mean a lot of things, and each person is interpreting it their own way.
Yeah, I haven't been involved with contracts and unions and stuff like that. I was a teacher. I just retired. So when we were in contract negotiations or when we were on strike, we kept to, we'd be in the building at a certain time. We'd stay after school with kids and stuff like that. We were under strict rules that, we're in at this time, we're out at this time. Somebody asks you to stay, you can't. So with every profession, there's very specific things that you're dealing with. So I understand what's going on, and I feel for them. I get it. So, but there's a lot of moving parts and so many people that you get confused with. What can I do this? Can I do that? So I get it.
Oh, yeah, and getting back to it, I had a phaser that I wanted when I had my picture with Melissa Navarra, who plays Ortegas. And as I handed her my phaser, she says, "Oh, am I allowed to do this?" Mm-hmm. And then the handler said, "Well, it's kind of up to you, but if you don't want to do it, don't do it." Now, I had 2 phasers for Terry Metalis and Todd. Not a problem. They grabbed those phasers right away. And we did the Charlie's Angels pose. And they were really happy. And Terry was upset because Todd grabbed the season 1 phaser, where I had also the Discovery phaser, and he ended up with Terry ended up with the Discovery phaser.
Nerd.
Yeah, sorry. And he said, "Oh, I got the Discovery phaser. I wanted the TOS one."
Nerds.
That's awesome. No, that's
great.
And
I sent you all the photo ops that I did.
Yeah, I couldn't tell which one you were in the picture. I couldn't tell who you were in the picture.
Yeah, it was hard to figure out the Wrath of Rick. Mm-hmm. Oh, Scott, so what I did was I dressed up as Rick Sanchez. But from the Wrath of Khan, I had Khan's necklace and I had the visor. So I was the Wrath of Rick.
Okay.
In all my photo ops.
I'm trying to find. I guess I'm gonna have to go to our. Yeah, this was the solo chat with Wayne. I got to go.
Yeah, it was in the group chat.
Yeah, the group chat.
Each person was very different on what you could do.
Mm-hmm.
It depends on how they felt, and a lot of them only had like their publicity photos, their headshots, and that's it. So if you wanted a picture of their with them in like a character costume, you either brought your own like I did, or you bought them from Creation.
Agreed. I'm hold on. I also want to show that way to go, Mitch, because he got nice publicity from Terrificon, and there's a great picture that I will share
Fake
momentarily.
news. It was
Yes.
fake news. It was in the Star or the
Yeah, it's
Inquirer.
on the Star. How about that? So yeah, there's Rebecca and Jerry O'Connell from Terrificon and everything. Pretty cool. We like that. Here we go. All right, here we go, Wayne. I believe.
Oh,
So
that's okay.
Go ahead.
This is Penelope Mitchell. So I was saying, you're so hot. And then she just lost it. So the
Now-
photographer actually caught it at when I said hot. And she
Oh,
just,
and remind people, because I bet, and forgive me before you reveal. All right, panel. Who is this woman? She was on one of the new Trek shows. And
It's the woman that's in the photograph with Wayne, who's dressed like
Yeah,
that.
thanks a lot, Franco. Thanks for playing.
Oh.
Scott, any guesses? Scott?
Okay, my guess is it was she was from Discovery. She was that robot character that we didn't know anything about, and she had a longer funeral than Spock.
Flip over the cards, Wayne.
that is Penelope Mitchell. She played Renee Picard in season 2 of Picard.
Picard's ancestor,
Yeah.
I remember.
the astronaut.
Yeah, and her husband's a poet, so that's pretty cool.
I bet he didn't even know it.
You know
Exactly.
that would be on the back of her baseball card. Her husband is also a poet. Here, let's see. Is this? Yeah, there you go.
Oh, that's me in the Orville crew. So we were doing jazz hands.
Oh,
That hilarious, outstanding.
the Orville crew.
And that's Scott Grimes on the right, all
Yeah.
the way on the right, and that's on the left. We're mentioning Robot Girl from Discovery.
Yeah, that's Mark Jacobs.
Yeah, and he
Plays Isaac.
Isaac, that's right. Oh, hilarious. God,
Where's Seth?
Yeah, everybody
no,
but Seth.
Seth's no there.
Hey, and look how great Beverly Johnson looks. I love her. She is so terrific. The Cassidy Yates, of course, on but she's the doctor on the Orville, but Cassidy Yates on
You
DS9.
mean Penny?
Penny.
Johnson, thank you.
Yeah.
Beverly is her character on Larry Sanders. All right, there's Franco and Christina Chong.
Mhm.
And after she's like, that asshole Suntress didn't like the musical. Fuck that. F that guy. Can't blame her.
She remembered Wayne because I described how Wayne dresses in the
Oh.
picture. She goes, "Oh, I remember that guy."
No, really?
Yes, she did.
Well, yeah, you're always Wayne. You're
How can you miss?
Okay,
How can you miss a full-grown?
No,
Rick
I've actually
Sanchez?
had some people say, I know you from somewhere. I had Doug Jones say that to me at the show.
Oh, that's nice. That's really nice. There's the musical.
It's Scott's favorite Star Trek scene ever.
Exactly. Oh, there's me and Frank Miller and Selene Thomas. All right. So we got the astronaut. Then we got there. Look at that, man. The two Daxes. Oh my God.
Me and the two
I am
Daxes.
very jealous, man. I mean, I had a great moment with Terry Farrell myself at Terrificon, but my God, Nicole DeBoer still has it. They both still have it. They're lovely.
Are they friends?
Yes.
Or
Actually,
friendly.
a lot of them are like, they're like buddies. And they don't really see each other during the year, but it's at these conventions that they
Right.
sort of get together. They formed a little, like a family. It's like a family reunion.
Yeah, and I know they're hanging out on cruises and conventions.
Oh
and
God,
stuff.
yes. Oh, if you can get on the Star Trek, oh, there it is.
Oh,
There's the Terry and Todd.
What were you gonna say, Wayne?
Oh, the Star Trek, the booze cruises. If you really want to get to know these people, you should go on the Star Trek cruise because
Makes sense.
Terry and Marina, heavy drinkers.
Oh, I believe that. It's great, Wayne. I have the Rick's portal gun as well.
Yeah,
There you go. There's
Adrian.
Adrian Pilecki, or as I like to refer to her. Oh God, what's his name? The comic book writer. It's his sister.
So I said, let's do a pose like James
Eric.
Bond, but you look like the sultry Bond girl.
I like your Starfleet Delta medallion, man. That's
Yeah,
very,
that's the Wrath of Khan. That's the Khan
that's-
necklace.
Of course. I was gonna say that reminds me of McCoy's medallion in the motion picture. One damn minute, Admiral. Your beloved Admiral Nagura. Oh, there's Bruce Horick,
Yeah, he's scanning me. Fellow Canadian.
of course.
And it was his birthday during the convention, and we sang happy birthday to him.
Oh, that's in Klingon, I hope. Maybe not. All right, hold on. Let's see. What else you got? Oh, there's Uhura.
Yeah.
Woo!
She's calling me a space Uber with my communicator.
How about showing the belly, too? Nice. Wow. Wow.
No, she's non-binary, isn't she?
Uh,
Aren't they?
Are they?
Yeah, I think so.
I don't know. Cecily. Yes. Let's just call her Cecily. Keep it simple. Oh, look at that, everybody. Everyone's favorite Dabo girl.
yeah, and I have a glommer on my head.
Good.
So it thinks I'm a
good-
tribble.
Yes.
So what do
triple
they say
predator.
when you walk in dressed up like this? What?
Some of them know me, and they're just wondering what I'm going to do this year.
All right, Marina.
Yeah. Now
Um,
this is the
Denise?
second take because one of them had their eyes closed. So they rushed me back in, and I want to do a word balloon where Marina's going to go, "Fuck this! I'm not doing this again."
She's great, man. She looks great there. And Gates and Denise. That's terrific,
Yeah.
man. Oh, and all right, tell everyone who that is, man.
Oh, that's Hannah Hannah Hate. She played O'Brien's daughter
Oh wow.
in DS9. So I'm scared, and she's protecting me.
Molly.
Molly.
Molly
You know, they could
O'Brien.
have thrown her on. They could have thrown her into Picard.
Yeah, no kidding. I mean, they've used her on Star Trek Day. I know that.
Yeah.
Oh, there you go. Very
Me and
nice.
Issa.
Yeah, Issa Briones, of
Yeah.
course.
So I said, "Hey, put like a stop. Do not come near me." I'm going, "What?
the many
God,
daughters.
I'm harmless."
And then, of course,
Oh yeah, this one got the photographer when he doesn't usually he takes the picture and you move on. He came up to me and going, "This one's really good. I like this one."
Jess Bush.
So yeah, so I went up to Jess. I said, "I'm going to bow down and worship you. I want you to be majestic."
These are so great, Wayne. Hold on a minute.
I like that half of these people probably have a restraining order on Wayne.
Sure, by now.
No doubt.
Well, the question I have is, did they just leave you there and cart them in to take pictures with you? Or was it the other way around?
This is the Wayne photo session.
Yeah,
Who is
this
that,
is
Wayne?
yeah. This is me and Jin Malley. She played Ensign Kenzie in Picard season 3. She was on the Titan.
Oh, okay. Don't remember her, but all right, that's cool. Oh, oh wow! Tell everyone who this is. They're not
Okay,
going to.
this is John Chuck, who played Klingon in Undiscovered Country. So I thought it'd be perfect for me to feed a tribble to a glommer.
He also was in 4. I want to
Yeah.
say he was in 2
And
movies,
I also remember from Holmes and Yo-Yo.
of course, and he was Herman Munster in the '80s
Yeah.
Munster TV show. Great, and of course, he's in the original MASH.
Mhm.
He's Painless, the dentist.
Oh,
I like all of these credits, but John pulls out. He was also Herman Munster in that one
Well,
TV movie that nobody saw but me. But
no,
I
it
remember
was a TV. It was a terrible TV series. It was one of those first-run syndication.
Yeah, because
80s television.
Merriweather was she was Lily, wasn't she?
I don't remember. I mean, I've been a John Chuck fan since the original MASH movie. So anytime he shows up, I'm very happy to see him. Ah, there you go.
So this is me and Melissa, where she wouldn't hold so behind my arm, behind my back is my phaser that she didn't want to hold.
That's a little personal, man. She wouldn't hold your
Yeah.
face.
It's true.
I don't blame her.
This is me and the Mackenzies. So this is Michael Mackenzie and Westmore. It's Michael Westmore and Mackenzie Westmore who do the special effects.
Sure, the makeup. Yes,
Yep.
the infamous makeup Westmore family that go back to the 40s.
Oh
I mean,
God,
they're-
yes, it's their legacy is unbelievable.
Bud Westmore
Is he
was the guy.
involved in the new shows?
Say it again.
It is his daughter involved in the new shows?
She's more like a game show host
Oh,
where they
okay.
do Face Off. Have you
Uh-huh.
ever seen the show
Right.
Face Off?
The makeup reality show. Yes, she's
Yeah.
a judge on that. That's
Okay.
right. Yep. But no, you're right. Bud Westmore was like doing Universal monster stuff back in the day. Oh, now why did I lose it? Son of a gun. Go back. Go back.
Oh, that's amazing, man.
John, you were
That's-
messaging other people besides me. What was that all about?
Say it again.
I said you were messaging other people besides me.
Yeah, sorry. Where are we? Is that that might be it? That's it.
Yeah,
All right, I'm gonna.
the other ones was the ones I sent before with Christina Chung, with her CD.
Yeah, but we saw. All right, but we
Yeah.
saw her with Wayne. That's all right. That's it.
Yeah.
but also no, that was great, man. And seriously, and yeah, you're right. Earlier, we got you got autographed pictures with you had Christina sign her CD, which is cool.
Yep.
And then you also met Francine Nguyen, who wonderful Vietnamese actress from the original series, Ilan of Troyes.
Yep.
And also, didn't you meet Marlena, the
Yes.
near Captain's
Yeah,
woman?
Barbara Luna.
Yes. Yes.
Oh my God, her handwriting is amazing.
Yeah. Okay, Chris remembers. Yes, I always refer to Adrian Pilecki as, hey, it's Eric's sister. Absolutely, man. So yeah, that's Eric Pilecki is the comic book writer in the family. No, they're great. They're adorable.
I like the fact that Christina remembers me.
I'm sure you do. I don't blame you at all. Here's some comments from my Patreon page. Len Cooper thought the finale was solid. So glad to see you guys liked it as well. John wanted to know, Wayne, did you see any cool props or sets at Star Trek Las Vegas?
Not really. They sort of scaled back on a lot of the stuff since they're no longer affiliated with Paramount because they lost the license.
Yes.
So we don't have the bridge photo op like we used to have. There's a lot of stuff. It's just to give you an idea. This is the program. So they try to make it like a science fiction-y type thing, and it's not really. It's Star Trek, but they can't really call it Star Trek.
Yeah,
so that's why it's STLV. So it's
right.
like it's a sexually transmitted disease, Las Vegas, which I got.
Did you run into any other Trek podcasters?
They were there. I didn't have a chance to talk to them. I did pick up some cool stuff. I picked up 2 crickets from the first season. So the cricket phasers that Factory Entertainment was producing.
Are those the handheld that look more like communicators?
Yep.
Are you showing us? Sorry.
No, they're upstairs.
Oh, don't worry. But is that what they mean when you say the cricket ones, the other phasers?
Yeah, the cricket. I can keep talking, gentlemen. Talk between yourselves.
Because I'm assuming that's all right. As you're trying to find it, like the phaser that they use in City on the Edge of Forever, which isn't a pistol. It's more, and it doesn't look like the next gen phasers.
The next gen sort of made it different looking than the original. Like the Type 1 phaser, it's a Type 1 phaser, but they redesigned the Type 1. Yes, it's the tiny phasers from
next gen.
Yep. So I picked up the 2 different versions of it, and cool. I also have the Dustbuster one.
We can never thank Wayne enough for gifting us all original series communicators, which are pretty good. And the autographed Gorn Funko. Hold on, there we go. There you go. Very nice, Francis.
Not making the sound right now because
I like it. Like it a lot. I like when Franco's. There you go. Thank you, Wayne. Yes, that's the next gen.
Yeah,
sure. I'm with you.
Yeah, I picked those up, and I picked up the Dustbuster in, as they like to call it, the Dustbuster, and I picked up the Dustbuster in San Diego.
Oh, sure. Yeah, there you go. Absolutely, it does.
They're coming out with some really good, like electronic Star Trek props next year, hopefully for San Diego.
More comments from my Patreon page. Jesse Jackson, no, not that one, said, I enjoy the season. I'm not as concerned about continuity as some. I just want good stories, and I feel like we're getting good stories. Now I'm looking forward to Lower Decks. Ed Wells said, overall, I felt, as we've discussed, the tone was all over the place. Putting a serious war episode between the Lower Decks comedy and musical episodes was jarring. Also, they're going to the TOS well too often, and it would be better served focusing on their original characters instead of pulling in Kirk and Scotty. I agree with John's assessment. I'm not reading this because he agrees with me. That Paul Wesley doesn't have the screen presence to pull off Kirk. I honestly don't understand why they thought bringing Kirk in this early was a good idea. The presence of Kirk overshadows the Pike era crew. And then Wes finally says, not TV show related, but wanted to pass on news of a new novel focused on 7 of 9 during the pre-Picard, post-Voyager era. And it's called Star Trek Picard Firewall. It's written by David Mack. And essentially, we get the backstory of how 7, after coming back to Earth, tries to apply to Starfleet, doesn't get accepted, and joins the Fenris Rangers. Yeah, Wayne.
Is it the same David Mack that's the comic artist?
No, it's a different guy.
Yeah.
I know. I was like, when I first was aware of David Mack, the Star Trek novelist, I immediately, because David Mack, the comic artist, is a friend. And I'm like, you're writing Star Trek? He's like, no, different guy. And I'm like, all right. Well, you're still cool. It's all right. But yeah, I haven't had the pleasure of meeting David Mack, the Star Trek novelist. He was
And
also.
if you want to see, this is what the Khan necklace looks like up close.
Very cool. Very good. He also is an advisor, or was an advisor on New Trek. Was one of those experts that they would go to, and again, were kind of left to their own devices whether they took his recommendations or not. David Mack, Star Trek novelist. I want to get. I'm always happy to talk to Mike Friedman more, but Robert Greenberger also. As I'm going, there's a book called Star Trek Compendium that checklists all the Star Trek novels up to the point of where this thing was published, and it was published in the late pre-2010 era. But when they could, they would speak to the writers of the books and get little backstories. They didn't get Judith and Gar Reeves Stevens, who co-wrote the Shatner books, but they actually were able to get Shatner to talk about those Star Trek novels he wrote. But no, it's very interesting. And Robert Greenberger, another great comic book person, writer, but he has written several Star Trek novels. So the next time I talk to him, I'm going to have to talk to him about his novels. What's up, Wayne?
The other thing from the convention, I've talked to Denise Crosby over several years now. She really wants to finish. She wants to finish out Trekkies with the third movie, which she always envisioned it as a trilogy.
Wow!
And so she wants to finish the third movie. And the time that I talked to her, she wants to focus on those countries that she's never been to before, and I think one of them was India at the time.
Oh wow!
So we'll see if she continues with that same thought and idea, because she really wants to finish off Trekkies.
I think that'd be a great idea, and that's why I loved the second movie as much as the first, because we really did get a good look at European Trek fans.
Yeah, and
So
that's what she said. She wants to hit other parts of the world to see what is the cultural impact that Star Trek has on their cultures.
Mario wants to know if you saw any Trekkies in Ireland, Francis, at Dublin Con.
I'm sorry, say it again.
Well, you met Christina Chong. He wanted to know if you saw any other Trekkies in Ireland.
No, I was pretty busy, and they had them off, a lot of celebrities off to the room right next to me. So I would see people walking in and out, but they had the Terminator reunion there. They had Linda Hamilton. It's in a lot of the entertainment sites and stuff like that. They had Robert Patrick, Michael Biehn, and Linda Hamilton. And I was talking to someone who said that they were trying to get Arnold Schwarzenegger to actually come in on a video call, but he was just too difficult and time to get there. But yeah, I didn't see many Trekkies. Unfortunately, she didn't have like very many people. Whenever I went by there,
table.
Yeah. I don't know if they have the newer Treks there, but they had a few people going up to her, but everybody was really there for the Terminator stuff.
My good friend Declan Shalvey, the excellent comic book writer and artist, is a massive Star Trek fan.
He wasn't at the show.
Yeah, I know. That's what I heard. I heard my buddy Steve Mooney showed up looking for me because he knows that Owen Macaulay, our connection to the show, has been talking to me about doing the Dublin Con. I'm going to do it in March. I had to get my act together to get my passport updated. But no, I look forward to it, and I can't wait to see Declan. And
I really had a great time, Johnny. It's a really good show. It's it's weird because I'm used to shows here. But,
sure,
it was a lot of fun. I had a lot of fun.
Well, and I think it's great regarding Dublin Comic Con that if they can't get people in person, that they do these Zoom panels. And, it's a great opportunity to get more potential celebrities or just even interesting guests in general. I'm really excited to go in March when that show happens. Go ahead, Wayne.
The one thing I forgot to mention, some of the best cosplay I saw, there was a lot of Lower Deck cosplay at the Vegas show. Someone was dressed up as Tendi, and she made a little peanut hamper.
Ha!
And someone else dressed up as Badgie. like you're dressed
That's
up.
awesome.
Think of a human-sized badgie walking around,
It's funny.
and it's just like
That's great.
I saw it. I'm going, oh, that is awesome.
Scott, have you met any Trek stars or celebrities?
No, I was at Mission Chicago last year, and
Yeah.
I take it back. My wife and I went and talked to Will Wheaton because we were enjoying the Ready Room, and she really likes. My wife really likes Ready Player One, and he did the audiobook of that. And during that convention, because they had that was when Picard season 2 was going, and it was right before Strange New Worlds premiered. So we went to the Strange New Worlds panel. And afterwards, we were walking the convention floor, and Rebecca Romaine walked past us, and I was like, ah! And my wife looked at me, and she said, "You just screamed at her." I'm like, "I know." And
That's
that
right.
was
She was at Terrificon and seated there, and we knew she was going to be there, and we all did the same thing. So it's
Good
fun.
Lord. I mean, really, I was really lucky, guys, and you guys know, 16 years in sports radio, I really am able to compartmentalize my, oh my God, and put it in the back of my brain and just have a nice, how you doing? Nice to meet you, whatever. And yeah, Rebecca and Terry Farrell and Gates McFadden last year. Oh, I'm inside. I am swooning. And but yeah, it's like, all right, how you doing? Oh, wow, really, Miss McFadden, you let me put my arm around you? Okay, I'm not going to touch you, but whatever. But oh God, and Terry Farrell and Rebecca, Jesus, if I could, as Langley said, I can only imagine. So true, man. And Wayne, you're obviously commenting to Langley as well how great Christina is. But yeah, no, I mean, and really, thank God 99% of them get it and are so great to fans. I mean, we all kind of know the famous exception, I would imagine, unfortunately. Unless,
Yes.
Yeah. All right. That's, again, Wayne, you can,
Yes.
Yes, we can leave
Orson
it.
Welles.
Indeed. The Orson Welles of Star Trek. Absolutely. But again, hey, man, the guy, the number one on the call sheet in the original series. You can't deny the guy. Thankfully, Leonard Nimoy was such a great guy. George Takei, when I met him, such a great guy. There were decent TOS frontline people that were excellent. So what are you going to do?
Well, I think that as years go on, these guys are just actors at the end of the day,
Sure.
and they've got to find a way to keep making money, even if they're not able to get roles.
Hey, man. Absolutely. If the guy, I don't even know if he's still alive, but
He is. Bobby Clark is still alive. If that's who you're thinking of.
Who am I talking about, Wayne? Go ahead.
That's the Gorn. Bobby Clark was there.
Better example. Yes, the guy who was in the rubber suit in the Gorn.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, Bobby was there.
I was thinking of the guy from Wolf in the Fold, who they think might be the killer. The Jack the Ripper episode.
Like Jack the Ripper.
Yeah. And I'm not talking about John Fiedler, the little bald guy who ends up being Jack the Ripper. He's a famous character actor. No, I'm talking about the guy, Prefect, I swear to you, I would never do that. Yes, I was in love with the girl, but no, I would never harm her. That guy.
Well, here's a question. So the guy who wore the original Gorn suit
Bobby
was there.
Yeah.
Did he talk to anybody?
Yeah.
I mean, has he been asked to come and star in any of these Gorn episodes or guest star?
No, he's really up there in age.
Yeah, I'm sure.
No, he is. Because
a lot of the older people too. My boss, his brother-in-law is Vaughn Armstrong.
Oh wow, Admiral from
Right.
and like a dozen other Klingon and other
yeah,
makeup.
he holds the record.
Sure.
Yes, he does hold the record for most different characters and stuff. Yeah.
And I asked my boss, I'm like, has he been called back at all? And he's like, no, not at all.
That's too bad.
And
But
I
he's
think
up there.
he's like semi-retired too. But they're filming all this stuff in Canada. They're not doing it here. They're not in LA anymore. So that's probably a big part of why these old character actors aren't coming back.
No, I agree. Let me check. I want to check Facebook. Everybody, I'm so sorry. Just Word Balloon in general. There's a problem. I don't know why. Ever since I'm starting to use Stream Elements, I only see comments from from YouTube, not from Facebook. So I want to acknowledge a couple comments that I see here on Facebook. And let me see if I'm missing any. Where the hell are they? No, just Lenny Cooper says love the new Scotty. Remember, folks, Franco's shirt means hope, and we hope for a resolution to the strike from Jonathan Conrad. Absolutely, man. So there you go. A couple people.
Scott, to get to you talked about like the photo ops and that. I've talked to a lot of celebrities over the years, and as much as the prom shot is the money shot because it's you're in, you're out, you're in, you're out.
Mhm.
But they do like the ones that sort of go off the rails. And that's why they remember me a lot, because I have a photo with me dancing with Jason Isaac, and Anson Mount looks like he's pissed off in the back because I wouldn't dance with him.
That's awesome.
So again, if you come up with a little, oh my God, she was in the X-Files, and she was in
Gillian Anderson.
No. Actually, no. Jillian knows me through a friend that worked on the X-Files, but she was also it was like a Netflix, The Haunting. So it's this older actress. Anyways,
I'm talking about Mimi Rogers.
Sorry, not Mimi Rogers. Sorry, no. I'll come up with it. Anyways, every time I see her, she says, "You always come up with something different." Like she remembers who I am. And,
sure.
Hey, let's do this.
No, that's great, man. And it's so great that you go as much as you do and have these encounters with these people. That's fantastic, man. Very envious and thrilled that you're able to do it. Absolutely, man.
Well, John, you didn't throw up the picture of you with Todd Stashwick from Fan Expo this weekend.
I got it somewhere. There it is. There he is. Yep. Oh, you know what? I wanted to point out another thing that I didn't like about the one little problem I have with the finale, and that's this face. Because frankly, because people, and including the producers, like, oh no, we were going for that best of both worlds vibe, and I've got proof that it's a very different, much different Riker than Pike. Everybody remembers the line, Mr. Worf, fire. That is not a guy that is panicked and confused like this guy. Frankly, it reminded me of this guy. Yeah. I know.
Actually, I will say I was surprised that they ended it there. I thought he was going to be like, let's leave or go or warp now or whatever.
Or fire. Fire. Aim arm phasers fire to be continued. Because that's the great thing. I'm sorry, I'm gonna pick on this moment because poor Riker does not want the captain's chair at another ship, is very happy to be Picard's number one. Shelby comes in, hey, you're in my way, I want your job. And everyone's Guinan is like, hey, or no, that was in part 2, but it's like he knows that, all right, Picard's part of the Borg, he has no choice. And he meets it head on with I believe like regret, maybe a little regret in the eyes, but stoicism. And instead you get what?
Now
again, well, go ahead.
But to be fair, all right. So you had how many conversations did they have in Best of Both Worlds where they just sat around the table and were planning things out? With this, it's like this is happening, this is happening, this is happening, this is happening. It wasn't one dramatic thing.
I disagree, John.
They don't have 32 episodes in the season, John.
No, listen, this was a crisis from the very beginning of the episode. And you had Robert April telling Pike, you're going to have to be careful here, and I don't want you to cross any lines. He's got Batel. He's got a million things on his mind. And you could say, oh, that moment. Sorry, man. No, I disagree. I think he was dealing with this Gorn situation for the entire episode. And again, I just think it's the way it's written or the way it's directed of, I'm sure it was, hey, give us a scared or confused or whatever, however you want to read in that. But I'm sorry, I think that's very different than this.
No, again,
give him his hero moment to be resigned to, I don't give a fuck about Starfleet. We're going in. Fire to be continued. Go ahead, Wayne.
I think the biggest difference is there was only one person from Starfleet on the Borg cube, where this one, they beamed all the people, all the humans on the planet onto the Gorn ship. So are you gonna fire on the Gorn ship when there's also people on the planet that you want to protect? So that's why he's I think that's what the problem is, and with the way that he was looking is, what do I do in that situation? Do I fire on the Gorn or do I retreat?
Yeah, there's a bit of humanity there. And
Yeah.
I think you're reading a little too
I
much
think you
into it
you can't compare Riker's situation where it's just Picard on the Borg versus an entire group of Starfleet citizens that are on the Gorn ship. John,
and the other thing too,
you're looking to hate it.
And the
No,
other
I'm not looking to hate it. I am react. Hold on, Scott. I'm react because I got to answer him. I am reacting to what I see, and I'm not the only person that made that comment that reviewed this episode. Go ahead, Scott.
But I think the idea that a Riker moment might have been taken a little too literally, to where it's like a moment where it's like we're in this situation and boom, we're gonna slap the to be continued sign on it, as opposed to the Riker moment being like stoic and being like fire. I think that it was more on the lines of, we're gonna stick him in the middle of this big cliffhanger. All this stuff is happening, bam, and it's over. I thought it was more like one of the last episodes of one of the last crossovers of Voyager than it was Best of Both Worlds. But Best of Both Worlds was the series that started that cliffhanger at the end of the season, or it was the episode that started the cliffhangers and the whole rest of the series is
Sure.
going forward.
Well, you're right, except for, of course, the original series with the menagerie,
Right.
Lock them up, which I love. And again, it's funny. Mr. Vic said he needed that Kirk Khan face. Yeah, whatever. I mean, again, I have no problem disagreeing with you guys. That's quite all right. You guys can interpret it any way you want. That's fine. I've made my point, and I'm I'll sit here by myself, and the three of you can jump on me. It's all right. Oh man, Wayne, could you at least acknowledge without singing that you could, if the mood suited you, you could sing one of those musical songs?
I think one or two I could.
Okay. All right.
I've heard them enough that I could belt it out. But I might need the lyrics on my iPad, but I could probably do it.
Okay. I understand.
No thanks.
Yeah. Hey, I have no doubt there will be a
private
sing-along.
conversation, Franco.
I'm gonna watch the episode again, but yeah, I don't need to hear Wayne sing it.
I have no doubt that much like the Buffy sing-alongs that we've seen at Comic-Cons all these years, that at least at STLV, or if they do another mission, whatever city, I'm so bummed that I missed that last year. I can't tell you, Scott. These guys admit it too. Again, what do you do when your college wants to honor you? And like the last thing in the world I ever expected. Hey, it's the same weekend as Mission Chicago. Oh,
and then you had the Pike face.
I did. I absolutely, actually, I think more so. I had the curly face. Yeah, I love that face. I was trying to find more of a traditional curly, just like that. But that's the closest thing I could find. I love Curly Howard. Amen, Curly. We miss you. Good Lord. Decades later, 100 years later. Oh, that's great. See, and God bless you, Langley. Langley understands these shows. I love talking about this stuff. I have no one else to go full on pedantic nerd about Star Trek. 100%, man. Absolutely. Get the beep chair, he says. Yes, indeed. We can wrap, boys. That was good. I can't think of anything else. I haven't listened to A Stitch in Time, Andrew Robinson's audiobook yet. I bought it right at the beginning of the month. And I can't wait to listen to it because God, he is Oh yeah, absolutely. I want to hear the performance. I don't know, Scott, I don't know if we talked about this. I know I have with Franco and Wayne. Siddig, Alexander Siddig's YouTube channel, Sid City. He did several post DS9 table reads with cast members.
Right.
Quark, Jake Sisko, right. Kira played Mirror Kira. They're great. They're great. And a lot of exchanges between Bashir and Garrick. And man, it was like slipping on an old cardigan. How great they sounded, and just immediately just
What did they read? Old episodes?
No, it's like the future of what happened at DS9.
Yeah, and even more specifically, like one of them, and it was a multi-chapter story where it was all about what was happening on Cardassia after the war, and that with Garrick as head of the government, and that's kind of what I believe Stitch in Time, if I remember correctly, it's that same thing, but also it goes into Garrick's past. It's no, it's great, man. Good
You
stuff.
know, I have one last thing to say. You know, we were talking about continuity and how I'm able to like fit things into, you know, square pegs into round holes. I can't do the extended universe stuff because I know at any minute someone's going to come along and like kill the continuity. And as a matter of fact, you know, Jerry Taylor wrote that biography of Captain Janeway. And I think it was called Pathways or something like that. And then they just did the biography of Captain Janeway, written by the person who did the Kirk one or something. This lady who lives in Ireland. Completely different story.
Oh,
And it's like, well, who do you want to listen to? You know, who do you believe? The creator of the character, or this Yahoo, with all due respect, who comes along afterwards and just throws everything away?
Well, I know talking to Owen, and I don't know if you're aware of this, Franco, but at the Dublin Con, they had the author that wrote the Cisco book do a panel, and I'm gonna play the audio from that on Word Balloon. I'm talking to Owen about getting me the video as well. But yeah, and David Goodman, who used to be in charge of the Writers Guild, wrote the Kirk biography, and also David wrote the Futurama Star Trek episode they did, where all the original cast went on the planet. It's everybody but Scotty. Scotty wasn't there, so they had a character called Welshie.
Well,
but yeah. So
one thing I can recommend. This is actually just book one, but all three books are now out by Armin Shimmerman.
Yeah,
his Ilaria series, really good reads.
That's good to hear. That's great to hear. You know, I no, that's great, man. You know, it's funny on those Sid City post DS9 things. Armin Shimmerman put the teeth back in when he was doing Quark, because as he said on the Shuttle Pod podcast, he's like, you know, I really can't do the character unless I've got the teeth in, which cracked me up. But I get it. It's cool. Wesley says, turns out I have a copy of Stitch in Time that I forgot I had for 10 years or so. A lady gave it to him after getting deep into her religion. I have no idea why, but glad to have it. Book was great.
You want to hold on to that too. I was looking for it a couple of years ago to give to my sister-in-law because she's a huge Trek fan, and I could not find it for under $100.
That's interesting. You know where you should go, Scott? Speaking locally, that mall, that Village Crossing off of Tui on the Edens. If you go to that Books A Million or whatever, they have a huge collection of used Star Trek books, and I would definitely try to look there, because sometimes booksellers don't realize, hey, this thing is actually worth something. God, I've been looking the Richard Hatch Battlestar Galactica books that he wrote that have nothing to do with the Ron Moore stuff. It really is the original continuity. Those were great, and the last one, just like you're saying, is like ridiculously priced, and I'm like, yeah, I'm not gonna buy it. That's all right. I don't need it. But he wrote like 6 or 7 Galactica books. So, yeah, there you go. All right, we could be done. You guys were patient with me. You listened to my bullshit. Wayne, you took my grief, and I appreciate it. Thank you.
Every week we listen to your bullshit, Johnny.
That's true. You know, all right, I'm gonna pick on Mitch for a second. It was just me and Mitch, and sometimes I would let him read a question, and he'd be like, "Oh yeah, well," and he wouldn't read the question. I'm like, Wayne, it's for an audio audience as well. Say who's saying it. Read the whole goddamn statement, please.
I like that you're so angry at Mitch that you bring up Wayne's name.
Oh, I God damn it, Wayne.
He's angry with me all the time.
I am mad at him all the time. I love you, Wayne. I'm sorry. Wayne is so good to me, and all I do is just pick on his ass. It's sad. That's
he
funny.
can get away with it because I'm Canadian.
It's true. Langley goes, I'm so mad I had so many books from the 90s era of Trek and I lost them when I moved. I hear you, man. No, I was the same way. when I was sick, my sister came in and purged a lot of my crap, and it's like, no, I want that. You're getting rid of it, and I'm like, who's that woman? Maria Kono or whatever, or Komodo, who's on Netflix, and it's like, oh, you should only have 20 books, and it's like, and I mean, God, just look at Scott. Are those DVDs behind you, or are they books?
Oh, those are books. Those are all.
Come on, exactly,
my
man.
comic book stuff. And not only that, they're I collected some of them myself. So I took some of the comics and I had them bound, like this Batman thing here. So yeah, I mean, I'm not getting rid of any of that. My wife will bury me with them.
Yeah.
No,
Marie Kondo never watched Star Trek or read a comic book or had trouble getting a date.
She's not
That's
a book
what I'm
lover,
saying.
and that's okay. I respect that, but it's like, no, man, just like Scott's bookshelf, it's like that's who you are. Books are who you are.
Mhm.
They represent who you are, and it's like hell, man. I mean, and I did purge a lot of books. I still have like 4 very full bookcases of stuff. So, and that's why
you don't want to see what I got in here. It's books everywhere.
Oh, I'm sure, man. And then that's like that's the good problem that we have at conventions. The people are like, oh, please take my book, and it's like, no. Please send me a PDF. My bookshelves are exploding. You know, it's like, no, I don't have any more room. Scott, before we wrap up, talk about visitations, because I really want people, and especially all 3 of these guys are going to be at Baltimore Con. I will not be there, but make sure you see them and everything. But and then visit Scott's table, or if you don't have a table, do you have a panel?
Oh no, I don't have a panel. I have a table in Baltimore. Visitations is the history of the 20th century, as seen through the eyes of the residents of an old Victorian cemetery. The characters are like a ghost Justice League. They're all based on real monuments in different cemeteries around the world. And it starts at a turn of the century. It goes to present day, or however long I live. I don't know which ending is coming first. And the characters have adventures while history grows and changes in the background. I will be in Baltimore next month. I will also be at Cincinnati Comic Expo at the end of the month.
Franco will be there. Wayne will be there.
If anybody's in Chicago on November 5th, I will be doing a visitations tour of Graceland Cemetery on Chicago's north side, because that's where some of the monuments came from.
Graceland.
Isn't that where Elvis is?
Pardon me?
Isn't that where Elvis is?
No,
Ron Graceland.
Yeah, let me explain the Graceland he's talking about. It's in Chicago. It is a Chicago historic graveyard that is literally down the street from Wrigley Field. It's north of Wrigley Field, but the original, well, you guys don't know, Marshall Field was our great.
The founders of the city are buried there.
Yeah, a lot of the city founders and a lot of important Chicago historic names are buried there. Jack Johnson, the first black heavyweight champion, also buried there. It's amazing. It's a really great. I mean, what a ridiculous season. It's a great cemetery, but it really is from a walking tour away, in the same way that Hollywood graveyards are so famous and stuff for all the celebrities they have. It's a great look at Chicago history, and the tours they have there are amazing. And I will try to be there for that for you, Scott. That's pretty cool.
Great.
Absolutely, man. No, I'm really glad you joined us today, Scott.
Great. Thanks. It was
Absolutely, fun. And I'm glad you guys, got to know each other, and, you can see each other at Baltimore and Cincinnati. That's great. Final thoughts. Langley says some of my favorite stories are things like New Frontier from Peter David. Yes, Captain Mackenzie Calhoun and Elizabeth Shelby. Absolutely. That's a great. If people don't know the New Frontier Star Trek books, Peter created this brand new character, Mackenzie Calhoun, and then populated the crew with Elizabeth Shelby as his first officer. Dr. What was her name? The Vulcan doctor from Next Generation. Wasn't she Sela as well? Or Selar, I believe. She's in there. Admiral Jellicoe is the big thorn in the captain's side, and he's in a lot of the books. Now, Peter David is an excellent Star Trek paperback writer. But yeah, good stuff.
And good comic book series.
Indeed. Well, and that's another reason why I want to talk to Bob Greenberger, because like Mike Friedman, he wrote a lot of the issues of the DC Star Trek comic series as well. So there you go. All right, boys and girls, thanks for listening and watching. Until next time, everybody live long and prosper. And we'll don't worry. There's plenty to talk about before we get to Lower Decks. If the guys are bored and want to break until Lower Decks, I'm okay with that. But I'll find other Trek people to talk to. So take it easy.